Welcome to another edition of Transparency in Government. We are here in April of 2017, and we're with the current superintendent, Nate Greenberg. And I say current because we only have him for a few more weeks.
Right.
And soon to replace him, as best he can, is Scott Liberty. And Scott is with us as well, so you can kind of get a taste of how things are going to go next year. So,
There you go.
gentlemen, what is going on with the school district? I know it's the end of the year. You've got a whole different, things going on. When the end of the year comes around, then luckily not crazy like budget season and all of that.
Absolutely.
So crazy in a different way.
Absolutely.
So what's happening, Nate?
This is really a fun time of year when you think about
Yeah,
it.
it is.
We have graduation coming up on June 9th. We have adult ed graduation right before that. So
How
we're
many kids do we have in adult ed this year? Do you know?
we've got
Approx.
about 30,
About 30.
but that's not how many kids are going to be graduating. So
Oh, there'll be more than that.
I'm not sure the exact number, Dottie, but it's been a program, and we discussed it the other night at the board meeting, that has been an incredible success and has been a major contributor to the fact that we had 0 dropouts last year.
Yes, because you have an alternate route for them
Right.
to.
So that's worked out really well. We have that. We have our spring concerts coming up. The high school students just finished taking their SATs. And as you're aware, our district really pushed several years ago to have the SATs be the state assessment at the high school level.
Okay.
And so that's a big plus. So we're looking forward to that. Spring concerts.
That's all the schools
Yeah.
with the string concerts.
And
That's
and
busy
then later on, in the year before the year ends, Jay Parent, a high school principal, started a new tradition last year where we have basically a dinner for our top 10 graduates and their parents, so that we can
really? I didn't know about that.
we can
Okay.
recognize them. So that's been a new thing that's been added in the last year, and so that's really exciting. So, this is really a good time of year.
Yeah.
Tying things up, looking ahead. So we're really excited about the conclusion of the year, and we know things will go well. As we speak, the 8th grade is finishing up their trip to Washington, D.C.
Oh, yeah.
And they've been tweeting out pictures by the boatload with things that are going on. So I'm sure they'll come back with a lot of wonderful stories. And as always, it's a great trip.
Yeah.
So it's really good. And tomorrow, then Scott can pick up on this, the new assistant superintendent, gentleman who will be
Oh, yes.
starting in July, is going to come and spend a day with Scott and go around the district. So
And in this case, tomorrow is the 21st of April.
Correct.
So you're not going to see that until after the
Thank you.
show, but yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Sometimes it gets confusing as when is tomorrow.
of lately, tomorrow has been very confusing for me every day. So there you go.
One of the most difficult things that I had to teach people when we were hosting shows, teaching them how to host a show, was don't say good morning because it might show tonight.
That's right.
Okay, and don't say today because it might not see it until next month. So yeah, the time frame
point.
thing can be difficult.
You got it.
So Scott, tell the truth. Does he have his desk cleared out and his suitcase packed?
Not yet.
Not
No,
yet.
He's
Okay.
working on it
All
a little
right.
bit, but yeah. I mean, as you know, with this, we've been working on our transition
Yes,
for a
you
long
have.
time,
Yep.
and
Yep.
yeah, I think we're both pretty comfortable.
Yep.
with where
You've got him
things are.
pretty well trained, you think?
Well,
We're going to be in good hands?
He's going to be fantastic.
Okay, all right. As long as we know he's going to be capable and
well, this is the time of year when we start to work on the transitions of all
kinds. Yeah,
So having
yeah.
Dan Black, who's our incoming
Yeah.
assistant superintendent, he's
Yeah.
finishing up a 4-year tenure as the assistant superintendent in Keene.
Okay.
This is a little closer to his home, so
Yeah.
he's going to be coming on board, starting to get our summer all scheduled out, doing some work with our leadership team.
Yeah, yeah, you have a
this
lot that
summer,
goes on
and-
during the summer. You know, people think
Yeah.
it gets slow. It does not get slow.
Well,
It's
yeah,
different.
It gets different. That's a
Yeah.
great way to put it. It's summer is a time when we do a lot of our long range planning work, professional development with our administrative team.
Yeah.
You know, so leadership exercises and
Yeah.
that sort of thing. You know, oftentimes, you know, you can't. I think the phrase was, "You can't rig the ship under sail." A lot of times during the school
You can't, yeah,
year,
yeah.
us having the time to step back, take a look at our long-range plan, take a look at the capacity of our leadership team. How do we make improvements in that?
Yeah.
Systems improvements in technology, and even in our curriculum and instruction. It's a valuable time of year for us as far as
Of major
moving
importance.
ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You
Yep.
know, I mean, people who don't have time to plan just react.
You do
Yeah.
that, and I think that's one of the things that Nate's done so well for so many years here, is that our district very rarely finds itself in a reactive
Yeah.
stance,
Yeah.
because we do use that time pretty well to try to develop our capacity and to update our planning.
Yeah, and that's why that school year can go nice and smooth.
It's well, there's always a wrinkle.
Oh,
There's
well,
always
there's
a
going to be
challenge.
a wrinkle, but
But
you
if
know,
you
that's
can
just
handle it, yeah.
exactly.
You can
yeah.
handle it a little better
Yeah.
if you take care of
The other
business ahead
things.
of time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the other thing too, and Scott can talk about this, another long-time administrator is going to be leaving this year, Donna Dyer, the assistant principal over at the middle school.
Oh.
And Scott and a team interviewed candidates, and we Tuesday night, the board approved the appointment of
Right, and her name just went away on me. I'm in
Oh,
big
it'll come
trouble
back in a
for this
minute.
one.
Give him a
Yeah.
second. Yeah, it'll come
Ann
back.
Hadwin,
Okay.
who is currently an assistant principal at Sanborn Regional, excuse me, and is also making that lateral move. They're going through some budget cuts and reductions over there. So again, we're the benefactor, seasoned administrator, very capable,
Great.
very
Okay.
bright, has done a lot of work
Yeah.
on curriculum.
Yeah.
And is going to fit right in. Well, of course, we'll miss Donna. I mean, Donna's a fixture.
Yeah,
She's,
yeah.
you know, and the kids love her. But Ann is a very capable person. So we feel like we're going to put someone into that role who's
Terrific.
not going to miss a
Terrific.
beat.
Are those the highest administrative positions that you had to fill?
Yeah, we're still in the process of looking for an IT director.
Okay.
So that process is ongoing.
What's really good, though, is you're going to know whether
Yes.
or not it's a good person for
Yeah,
it. With the background, yeah.
Hopefully.
That's going to really help.
without a doubt.
Yeah.
So, and we're also now in the process of hiring faculty and staff for the upcoming school year. We've had about 13 retirements this year. So
It's getting so I recognize fewer and fewer of those
Yeah.
names.
Right. Yeah.
It's like I used to know all of them. Now, like, who is
Absolutely.
that?
Yeah.
So we're losing a number of really veteran faculty members who've made major contributions
Yeah.
to the district over their time here in Londonderry, and have had a positive impact on the kids. So the administrators are busy in that regard, looking to fill those vacancies as we go out. So we've advertised, and people are in the process of interviewing and hiring. So that's another big spring step, if you want to call it that. Part of the regular ritual that we go through, the life cycle of a school district. So that's another issue that we had. Another highlight, the Lancer drum line played at the halftime for the Celtics
Oh my
playoff
God, they
game.
must have
They
been
did
thrilled.
that again.
They must have been
And,
thrilled.
no pun intended, I think they snared the crowd.
See, now, I don't. That's got to be a sports thing. 'Cause
No,
I don't even know
no,
that that's
snare
drum.
Snare drum.
Got
There
it.
you go.
Got it.
See?
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
I got
And
it.
as usual, they did a great job. I think this is like the 11th time that the kids have played down at the Garden for
Wow.
the Celtics. So they did their usual fantastic
Yeah,
job.
yeah.
So it's exciting, and I think you know, one of the things I think it represents is that our learners have a wide variety of opportunities available to them that are outside of the four walls
Yes.
of our schools.
Yes.
And it's efforts on our part with the support of the school board and the community that allows those things to happen, whether it's band or the variety of clubs that we have, or jumping for heart at the elementary level, all
Yeah.
those things.
Yeah.
I think they all combine to provide the kids with really a quality experience. I think that's really, really important. So
And
it's
one more indication that you don't have the kind of staff that just comes in and works like
correct.
9 to 3 or whatever.
right.
You have staff that really is looking to make sure these
Absolutely.
kids have those extra experiences.
And you know, you go by our schools in the evening after school is over, and there are kids all
Yep.
over the place,
Yeah.
faculty members there. So we try to make it as an exciting environment as possible for the kids, and giving them a wide variety of opportunities, which I think is important. So there are different ways really to capture kids and capture their interests.
And the more of those things that they're exposed to, the better chances they have of getting
Correct.
into something that they're really
Right.
going to love
Absolutely.
for the
And
rest of their life.
one of the really, I think, positive things that came out of our PSAT, SAT initiative over the last several
yeah.
years is what we call the Futures Lab at the high school.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
and out of that, we've been having a number of career breakfasts over the last 2 years. The last one that was run was from hospitality, where we had representatives from hotels come and talk to kids, and so about career opportunities in that industry and what kinds of things they would want to know about that, and what kind of training or education they need to do it.
Yeah.
So it's just another way of exposing kids to
Yeah, how else would you know?
Yeah.
Because a lot of those things are not things that you see.
Correct.
Even if you go into a hotel,
Yes.
they're happening behind the scenes, and there may be something that sparks their interest.
And I think, too, what it also does is it extends a lot of gravitas to it, because here are people who are actually working
it.
in the field, you know? So I can go and talk to somebody about education involved in it, and in a different group, so that carries a certain amount of weight because I'm in the field. Having people who are actually in the field working and saying, this is what you have to know to be a success in
Yeah.
engineering
Yeah.
or law enforcement or hospitality
Yep.
carries some weight with it, with the kids. And you know, some kids go, oh, wow, that really sounds
Didn't know
exciting.
about that, yeah.
Or, geez, I didn't realize you really had to study math to be an engineer. Maybe I'm going to rethink this, you know. So it's
Oh, I have
good
to know
that way.
science to be a doctor?
Yeah. So, you know, it gives, you know, it's good to know what you don't want to do as well as
Yes,
knowing
it
what
is.
you
It
want to do.
is, yeah.
Particularly when parents are shelling out a good share of cash to send you to school, and all of a sudden you decide to change your major like 35
And
times.
how often does that happen? Oh, my
I
goodness.
know.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so
End of the first semester, they're like, I don't really
I don't
like
thi-
this.
Right. And all of a sudden, none of the courses you took apply to this new major.
Yeah,
You know,
Or they
so
graduate and
Yeah.
go into the field and
decide they
don't
don't like
like
it.
it.
Yeah.
Unhappy,
yeah.
So that pre-planning helps. So it helps to narrow their focus in a positive way, or expand it in a positive way.
Yes.
'Cause, geez, I never thought I would be
Yeah.
interested in doing this,
Yeah.
but this sounds exciting.
Well, I think the other thing too is that it's one thing to expose kids to the kinds of work opportunities there are out there, professional or whatever, but I think one of the great things about the school district is that we also expose kids to a lot of the things that they need to keep themselves interested throughout life, as far as hobbies and things like that. Okay, and develop their interests, like with the music. Every one of our music students, as good as the majority of them are not going to go out and find a job in the music industry, but that's going to be a lifelong love
Absolutely.
of music, of playing music, whatever it is.
Without
And that's
a doubt.
important.
Yeah.
People forget that. And then they retire and they're like, well, what do I do now?
Right. There you go. I'm going to get that trumpet out of the
All
case and drive my wife crazy. So there you go.
Maybe you should start up a band
Oh, not me. I played trombone for about 6 months. Then I had to give
for
it up.
6 months, and you gave it up. Do we want to know that story?
His neighbors.
Oh, the neighbor said, no,
apparently,
can't take
yeah,
this.
I'm just.
I'm just
No,
You're
I'm just
assuming?
kidding. Yeah, I'm just kidding.
not good at it. So, but it's those kinds of things I
Yes.
think are really critical.
And get that
you-
well-rounded student.
Yeah, and you
Yeah.
want to have kids walk away with lifelong skills.
And what is your motto?
Giving wings to children's dreams, and that's really
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah. And
So-
we always want to help them reach their full
Yes.
potential.
Absolutely, and so that that fits in with what we've been talking about for the last several years. Londonderry Pop: Perseverance, Ownership, and Practice, and it's part of the initiative that we've had with growth mindset and giving kids an opportunity to learn from things that don't work.
Yes.
And so what we're trying to build through this is the idea that if something doesn't work, what did you learn from it so that you can begin to address it? So if you think of, there was a quote I saw the other day, it was from Einstein, where he said something like, I'm not smarter than anybody else, but I stick with a problem longer than anybody else.
And
Which-
there was the inventor that said, I may not know how to make, was it a light bulb at that
Edison,
time?
yeah,
Edison, the
right.
light bulb.
I know 1,000 ways not to make a light bulb.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, very
So
famous.
it all gets down to resilience. This doesn't work. So what did I learn? So getting kids to think about their thinking becomes really critical, because if we think about ourselves in just daily life
Yeah.
and work,
Yeah.
not everything we do the first time works. So you don't want to walk away from it and you say, okay.
Or
why-
let failure overwhelm you.
That's
you know?
right. Why didn't it work? Okay, what part worked, what didn't work, and then take it from there and learn. And that resilience, I think, is key in the perseverance.
Yeah.
It was at the start of the year, or actually last summer, I had the administrators watch the movie The Martian. Okay,
Yeah.
with
Matt
Matt
Damon.
Damon in it. And in it, his character, Watley, basically was abandoned on Mars and he was stuck. And there was a great quote in the movie, and we mentioned it first day we had all the teachers back, which I think is key to the concept of resilience and working through. And it occurs at the end of the movie where he's talking to a group of students, and this is after he was able to rescue him. And his quote was something like this: "Someday everything is going to go south. It's going to go south. You either accept it or you get to work. You do the math. You solve one problem, then the next problem, then the next problem, then the next problem, and then you get to go home." So the idea is nobody's life is perfect. You're always going to run into these issues, and you can either sit back and be a victim, if you want to call it that,
Yep.
or you can start saying, all right, how do I go about solving this issue? And
Yay, a challenge.
That's right.
Yeah.
And working your way through it.
Yeah.
And I think that's critical, because there isn't anybody sitting around this table or out in the audience, okay, who hasn't come up against something that has really been either of significant issue or even minor issue. And so what we're trying, and learn how to address it. And so what we're trying to teach our kids, teach our students, is, okay, even in a simple math problem or a science problem, what is it you're going to do? How are you going to learn from this? How are you going to proceed? And I think the research shows that if you develop that kind of mindset, which is called
Yes.
a growth mindset,
Yeah.
you will succeed much better, and you will learn more, and you will accept greater challenges.
And you'll be happier.
That's right. And so that's all part of what underlies, excuse me, what we're trying to accomplish on a regular basis. And so we're continuing to build on that. So when the tweets go out and people see hashtag Londonderry Pop, growth mindset, that's kind of what we're talking about. Because I think it's those kinds of skills that underlie everything. And what we're trying to teach the kids and give them, for lack of a better term, enabling skills to benefit from
Yeah.
the instruction they're getting.
I feel inspired, and I want to go home and solve the problem.
There you go.
Because there's a few there that could be solved.
Yes, absolutely.
I totally agree with that whole process, and I think that's the way we should be, not just dealing with our children in school, but also that we should be raising them that way.
Yes.
I know that Sesame Street's always been a big part of the little kids' lives, and they learn such good lessons from that. And my little granddaughter right now, she doesn't get to watch TV too often, but one of Sesame Street is one of the ones that she can watch. And I forget which of the characters it is that does something and then goes, wait, stop, think it through. And it's a problem-solving process, okay?
Right.
So if she gets frustrated now, we just go, stop, and think it through. And now she's doing it. And it makes it a challenge that is something she can do, and we always tell her, you can try it, and then she'll try it, and if she can't do it, she can say, I need help. But most of the time she says, I did it.
Yeah,
So,
There you
and
go.
that's such a great feeling to have, and that's how they can get that
That's right.
that feeling of that they are a success and they can handle these things and they can handle life.
Absolutely.
They need it. They
It
need
is, and it's a matter of resilience
Yeah,
and
yeah,
learning
bounce back.
resilience.
Yeah.
And the skills that go along with it to enable you to progress. And I think giving kids practice in doing that winds
Key.
up building self-confidence so that when something doesn't go right, you don't just crumble and you say, okay, what didn't work here? What do I got to change? How am I going to proceed? And then try that. And if that doesn't work, say, all right, what are we doing now? And if you think about it, in essence, if you distill everything out, it's kind of like the scientific method,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Put in sociological, psychological terms, or whatever. And, in education, just like other fields, we're as guilty as using acronyms and all this other stuff in our own little jargon.
Yeah.
But really what it comes down to is, okay, what is the problem? What are possible solutions? Testing out those possible solutions and going, oh, okay, that worked. No, that didn't work. We're going to try this, try this. Then to come up with, in fact, a solution to address it. Or a new way of doing it, or a creative way of doing it. So, that's really key. And I think that's what we want our young people to be able to do, so that as they get older and they look at whether it's personal issues or local issues or statewide issues or national
Whoa.
issues or world issues, they have the wherewithal to go, okay, what does this mean?
Yeah.
How am I going to address this? What are some possible solutions? And be part of a solution to move ahead. And I think that's really what we want all our children to be able to do.
I love it all. I love it all. We're definitely thinking outside the box.
Right, absolutely.
That fits into that too. That's the same concept. There was, and maybe you will remember this educator's name because it's been driving me crazy. I cannot remember. I'm thinking that Stephen and Glenn are in there somewhere, but one of your predecessors, Superintendent Willett,
Yeah.
was definitely very dependent on this man's philosophy of how to teach children. And his basic concept was that if we don't let them fail,
Yes.
then they're not going to learn.
Correct.
And I've been trying to think of his name because I want to get the book that he wrote.
Yeah.
I keep wanting to say like Glenn Stevens or something like Dr. Glenn
Yeah,
or
I'm
Dr.
not sure,
Glenn. But
but-
Glenn's in there somewhere, I
Yeah,
think.
there is
you,
a book that you should read now. It's along the same lines. It's written by Jessica Leahy, who we had address parents.
Yes, I've
Gift,
actually.
gift of
Yep,
failure.
Yep. Yeah, it's
Um,
the same
Yeah,
concept. Same concept.
absolutely.
Yep.
And
What was the last
it's
name again?
Jessica
Jessica
Leahy, right? And the book is called Gift of Failure. And we had her 2 years ago, last year.
It was last year.
Yeah, I remember
And
seeing
for a
the-
parent meeting with parents,
Yeah.
and it went over extremely well. You can also follow her on Twitter. And she's now speaking all over the country. And the basic premise is you have to give kids an opportunity to fail and learn from it.
Yeah.
And give them the opportunity to try things. So as adults, parents, you have the natural inclination to intervene
Absolutely.
right away.
Save
you know?
them.
Right.
Save them.
And now, obviously, if the kid's going to put his hand on the stove, you're going to stop it. But whether it's schoolwork or learning how to do chores or whatever, I think that's
Zipping up your own little
Yeah.
jacket.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've mastered that one.
Yeah, to learn how to do those things and learn that, okay, if this doesn't work, how am I going to go about doing it?
Yeah.
Becomes
Yeah.
critically
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. And you don't knock yourself. Nobody else is going to look down on you if you fail the first time or the second time or the third time. You just keep trying, and that's what we want to see you do.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that's critically important because I think as parents, grandparents, you provide the love and support, but your goal is to have an independent child.
Yeah.
Right? Independent adult
Yes,
is
yeah,
what you
yeah,
want.
yeah.
And, we all need support from time to time, but generally speaking, you want them to be independent, be able to deal with issues and be resilient.
Yep.
That really is a key, and I think building that up, I think also helps address some of the negative impact that we're having with the opioid issues.
It does.
All right.
I agree.
There are certain people who become addicted because of a physical ailment and then they've been on prescription
Yeah,
drugs.
yeah.
But
there's
sometimes
also-
people turn to it because they feel hopeless or whatever. And and what we're doing is not necessarily going to stop all that, but it gives you a greater probability that less
because they have
people will
other
come.
ways to address those
Right, and you deal
issues for
and you
themselves.
deal with it, and
Yeah.
you work with it, and you figure out what you're going to do, and to address those issues, that resilience. So, one of the issues that you wind up having, I think, is if this is going to sound kind of counterintuitive, but if somebody's had constant success, right, the first time
they fail.
it becomes crushing because they have
They don't-
not developed the skills necessary. So,
They get really thrown for a loop.
correct. So if you can manage the stuff within bounds, I mean, obviously, the age of the child has a lot to do with it, but allowing them to try stuff, say, and go, well, there's a quote from one of my friends when his kids came to him and said, well, I think I'm going to do it this way. And he goes, well, you could do it that way. Have you thought about other ways, ways to do it?
Yeah.
So I think that becomes
Yeah.
key. So I think that's where we are. Just
I
some
think we've
random
just
thoughts.
spent almost an hour on, have we done that? Almost an hour
my
on
gosh.
being, the educational philosophy and raising children well and creating good citizens. And this has been inspiring.
Yeah.
Boy.
And I think too, just one other thing before we
Yeah.
go. A good friend of mine had posted 4 questions that he would ask his kids every day. And I think they're a good question to ask when your kids come home. Did you learn something new? Did you do your best? Did you do right? And did you have fun?
Yes, I love that.
There you go.
I love that.
4 keys.
Yeah. Don't ever ask the generic, so what did you do in school today?
Nothing.
It's
That's
always
what I said.
nothing. It's
Nothing.
always, that's too hard a question to answer.
Yeah. So you keep those in
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah, I know, like with my little one, if I say, my little granddaughter, if I say to her, what did you do in daycare today? There's nothing. But if I say, who did you play with, or what, or did you draw, or did you go out? So then I have a whole story.
Oh, you bet.
Some of them aren't true anymore, but they're stories, they're great.
Creativity. Right.
Would you like to say something before we wrap it up? I mean, I
my
can't
turn
believe we
is-
had such a good time
My
here.
turn's next year.
Next
I'm,
year,
I'm
okay.
soaking it
so
all
you're,
in,
Yep, okay. And
soaking
this,
all wisdom from the boss.
here's the good news. We've recorded the whole thing.
There you go. There
You
you
can
go.
go
For
back.
posterity.
You can go back and study this a few times if you feel the need.
Studying the film.
So,
This man's going to be fantastic.
I think so. I think
gonna be
so. Yeah,
fantastic.
yeah. I get a good feeling
You bet.
about him. Big thing is, I can tell he likes kids. Like I know that you love children as well, and I've always seen that in you.
Yep, thank you, Dad.
It's great
Appreciate
to
it.
see you with the children.
Yeah,
I've seen
I
that
enjoy
a
it.
few times, so
You bet.
that's good. So anything that we need to let people know about before we wrap up?
No,
or
I think
That
we've
was-
kind of touched base.
Okay, that was pretty good. And we're going to be back again in May. And
Yes.
that will be Nate's last Transparency in Government
Yep.
show with us. But I might hook him into some other shows that I have going.
That sounds fine.
And you can always invite whoever you want on the show. It's your Transparency in Government
Oh,
starting
okay.
next year, so
Oh,
whatever you
nice.
want.
Wow,
Hint,
a lot to
hint.
think about.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, guys. It was really great to have you
Thank-
here today.
Thank you.
Thank you,
And I
Dottie.
enjoyed the discussion very much. Of course, I always enjoy when people agree with how I think. That
See?
seems
There
to
you
make
go.
me so much happier. But no, I like the discussions where we don't agree too. That's always nice, as long
You
as it's
bet.
friendly. So I want to thank you for tuning in, and I hope that you enjoyed this as much as I just did. And I'm really glad that I came today. If you have any questions for us, or there's anything you want to know, or you want to maybe provide some, free advice to Scott taking over here, you can get in touch with us. The information's at the end of the show, and we'd love to hear from you. So anytime, and we will be back in May. Thank you very much.